In science, if we can describe how something works and predict its future behavior, we claim to understand it and we move on.
The Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory is an American television sitcom created by Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady. The show originally centered on 5 characters living in Pasadena, California. What? Hang on. The Big Bang Theory. What is the Big Bang? The short answer. The Big Bang is how astronomers explain the way the universe began. It is the idea that the universe began as just a single point, then expanded and stretched to grow as large as it is right now. And it could still be stretching. What this Big Bang is all about. In 1927, an astronomer named George Lemaitre had a big idea. He said that a very long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, the universe started as just a single point. He said the universe stretched and kept expanding to get as big as it is now, and then it could keep on stretching. The universe is a very big place, and it's been around for a very long time. Think about how it all started, and it's hard to imagine. Yes, it is hard to imagine that the Big Bang is actually the big stretch. The more you know. The Big Bang. The Big Bang Theory is a cosmological model of the observable universe from the earliest known periods. Through its subsequent large-scale evolution, the model describes how the universe expanded from its initial state of extremely high density and high temperature, and offers a comprehensive explanation for a broad range of observed phenomena, including the abundance of light elements, the cosmic microwave background, that is, radiation, and large-scale structure. Crucially, the theory is compatible with the Hubble-Lemaitre law, the observation that the farther away galaxies are, the faster they are moving away from the Earth. Extrapolating this cosmic expansion backwards in time using the known laws of physics, the theory describes a high-density state preceded by a singularity in which space and time lose meaning. There is no evidence of any phenomena prior to the singularity. Detailed measurements of the expansion rate of the universe place the Big Bang at around 13.8 billion years ago, which is thus considered the age of the universe. After its initial expansion, the universe cooled sufficiently to allow the formation of subatomic particles and later atoms. Giant clouds of these primordial elements, mostly hydrogen with some helium and lithium, later coalesced through gravity, forming early stars and galaxies, the descendants of which are visible today. Besides these primordial building materials, astronomers observe the gravitational effects of an unknown dark matter surrounding galaxies. Most of the gravitational potential in the universe seems to be in this form, that is, the form of dark matter. And the Big Bang Theory and various observations indicate that the gravitational potential is not made of baryonic matter, such as normal atoms. Measurements of the redshifts of supernova indicate that the expansion of the universe is accelerating, an observation attributed to dark energy's existence. George Lemaitre first noted in 1927 that an expanding universe could be traced back in time to an originating single point which he called the primeval atom. For several decades, the scientific community was divided between supporters of the Big Bang and the rival steady-state model, but a wide range of empirical evidence has strongly favoured the Big Bang, which is now universally accepted. The steady-state model. In cosmology, the steady-state model is an alternative to the Big Bang theory of evolution of the universe. In the steady state model, the density of matter in the expanding universe remains unchanged due to the continuous creation of matter, thus adhering to the perfect cosmological principle, a principle that asserts that the observable universe is practically the same at any time and in any place. While the steady state model enjoyed some minority support in the scientific mainstream until the mid-20th century, it is now rejected by the vast majority of cosmologists, astrophysicists, and astronomers, as the observational evidence points to a hot Big Bang cosmology with a finite age of the universe, which the steady-state model does not predict. Edwin Hubble confirmed through his analysis of galactic red shifts in 1929 that galaxies are indeed drifting apart. This is important observational evidence for an expanding universe. In 1964, the CMB was discovered, which was crucial evidence in favour of the Big Bang theory, since that theory predicted a uniform background radiation throughout the universe. And of course, CMB is microwave radiation. So there we go, guys. This is the Big Bang, and you will notice that in the first paragraph here, it says that the Big Bang theory offers a comprehensive explanation for a broad range of observed phenomena, including the abundance of light elements. Light, the light. But down here, the dark comes in, because it says that most of the gravitational potential in the universe seems to be in this form, that is, the form of dark matter. Besides these primordial building materials, astronomers observed the gravitational effects of an unknown dark matter surrounding galaxies. So dark matter surrounds galaxies, apparently, and in their mind, galaxies are huge. That's what the narrative says. Most of the gravitational potential in the universe seems to be in this form. So basically, gravity is one of the cruxes of the theory of planets and stars out in a big void called space, spinning around in perfect unison. Because this is one of the problems with the Big Bang theory, is everything is perfect and works in perfect unison. We have a sky clock. We don't have a sky random. The sky is not random. It stays the same. And we know it stays the same because we have structures like pyramids that map the star system, and these pyramids have been dated by the mainstream at least 5,000 years, which means the stars are not moving. Now, again, they need gravity, because this is how they say that the moon orbits the Earth and the Earth orbits the sun. That's gravity. But they can't explain what gravity is, because it says again right here, besides these primordial building materials, which were the early stars, astronomers observed the gravitational effects of an unknown dark matter. And this dark matter surrounds galaxies. So they're saying the dark matter is controlling the gravity for whole galaxies, but they don't know what it is. It's just dark matter. And this is what they do all the time. They make up their theories, and when their theories don't work, they don't go back and rework them and try and find the truth. No, they add more little bits and pieces in to say, oh no, we're correct. It's just that there's something unknown here. Well, if it's unknown, I'm going to say that that's the same as not being known, which means they do not know. They don't know what they're talking about at all. Their theories don't work, so they just add stuff that they don't know about into it to make it work. And another point about the Big Bang is, well, now they're saying it's an expansion. They're not really, it's still called the Big Bang, but they're not saying it was a big bang and a big explosion, but that's pretty much what the language is saying. There was a singularity that expanded really quickly, and it's still expanding. So basically, what they're trying to do is they've gone from the Big Bang, because you see the thing about a Big Bang, a big explosion, is what do you get after an explosion? Do you get chaos or do you get conformity? Do you get a result where everything is sporadic and just going its own way? Or do you get a result where everything is in tune and in harmony and working in order with everything else? Of course, after a Big Bang, a big explosion, we've all seen them, you get chaos. You don't get everything working in a clock-like fashion where we can literally predict what things are going to do, because, again, everything is in sync, in synchronization. And so this is why it's gone from the Big Bang to the big expansion. They're trying to sort of say, oh, it wasn't really a bang, it was an expansion. So, we didn't get chaos, right? We got this. But, of course, it doesn't make sense. And when you look into it, they don't know what caused the singularity, what was there beforehand, what caused their bang or expansion. And, of course, then when they look out on the observable universe, with their theory that they say offers a comprehensive explanation for a broad range of observed phenomena, they then go on to say that the most observable phenomena, that is the synchronicity of the planets and stars, is caused by an unknown dark matter. So there you go. Theories and theories, right?
What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question. You can ask deeper questions about it. Why is there gravity? What is the meaning? What is the purpose? And go ahead, but I'm good with what I've done, and I can land a spacecraft on Mars inside of a crater in a hole-in-one using my understanding of gravity, so I'm pretty good with it. Okay? In science, if we can describe how something works and predict its future behavior, we claim to understand it and we move on.
What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question.
And I just wanted to mention this because I've been thinking about Big Bangs, but not their Big Bang. I've been thinking about plasma discharge Big Bangs. And so that's what I wanted to get into and have a chat about. And I'm just wondering, this whole Big Bang thing, could this be a cover and a rewrite for the other Big Bang, which may have been a massive plasma discharge? Google Maps gets a 700 trillion pixel upgrade. New satellite images provide the sharpest images yet of the planet's surface. The previous cloud-free mosaic of Google Earth and Maps was created with images from the Landsat 7 satellite, but Google has refreshed its maps by stitching together, big clue, sharper images captured by Landsat 8 launched in 2003. It hopes the upgrade Global Patchwork will provide the crispest cloud-free aerial views of Earth to date. So let's have a look-see at the picture that they have posted on this article, or pictures. Now this is a shot of the Swiss Alps, and it says, shows the mountain range in stunning detail with snow-capped mountains branching out. The Landsat 8 image captures the peaks and valleys in greater detail than ever before. And, I don't know, guys. Do you see what I see? What does that look like to you? And here is another one. It says, the image captured by Landsat 19th June this year shows a fire burning in eastern Arizona in the US. So this is eastern Arizona in the US. And can you see this? And all through here and even down here and pretty much everywhere.
To see all the pieces work together, let's first look at fusers and how they're set up. A A fusor is the simplest form of fusion reactor and is basically just two electrodes, one inside the other. The central one is connected to the negative side of our high voltage system, and the outer is connected to the positive side. Before we can turn on the power, we first need to turn on the pump and let the pressure get as low as possible. When most of the gas is removed, the high voltage can be turned on. When this happens, electrons immediately start flying across the electrodes, smashing into the small amount of gas molecules left in the chamber. This ionizes the gas and gives the nuclei a positive charge. These positively charged ions are attracted to the negatively charged inner electrode, and so the nuclei start to accelerate toward it. If we were to supply enough voltage, the ions could have enough energy that when they smash into each other, they would actually be able to fuse into heavier elements. However, our system's capabilities are far lower than what's required for that purpose. If everything has been wired up correctly and there's no leaks in the vacuum system, the whole chamber should fill with plasma when it's turned on. Plasma comes in many forms and is made of a soup of charged particles. It's produced when a material, usually a gas, is given so much energy that the electrons melt off of the nuclei. The energy can be chemical or electrical, and the properties of the plasma greatly depend on its composition. Given sufficient energy, the ions in the plasma can be coaxed into smashing into each other and fusing into heavier elements. Plasma can be used to evaporate metals and is important for everything from semiconductor manufacturing to medical implants.
So this is a plasma ball, and we've all seen these. These are now relegated to toys, but this is basically this is what that guy was just building, a plasma ball in a plasma chamber. And of course, you can turn these up. The more energy you put into them, the more filaments come out. And of course, when you touch them, you attract the current to your fingers. And we've all done this, and you can move them around the ball. And so this is basically the current, the plasma, because that's plasma in there, being attracted to you, and you are basically, I guess, the earth that it's trying to earth on. So this is kind of what I think has happened in our realm, is if you can imagine this being, the sky, the heavens, and this stuff, this is basically lightning. This is what lightning is, and this is the earth. And we know this happens. This happens all the time with lightning, right? When lightning comes down, it's, it always hits the shortest path, the tallest thing that it can earth on. So what would happen if this built up so big and it had to discharge? Now this is pictures of plasma. Now these are the shapes that plasma makes as it builds up charge in a chamber. When it's in a chamber, when it's in an enclosed space, which I guess is what we're in. So they've reproduced these, and these are what they make. Now these are pretty, a lot of these symbols, fairly familiar, aren't they? Look at this. This is like the double-headed trident. Even these things, we see all the time. They look like weapons that, people are holding. This is a bit like the standing man. So I think I've got some more here. Here we go. So this is called the standing man or the stick man, and this is what it looks like. This is actually plasma. Now this, I believe this is, it might be a photo or a drawing, but this is the shape, one of the shapes that plasma goes into while it's building charge in a chamber. And of course you can see, this is what it looks like. And these are cave paintings. And you can see Arizona, Armenia, is that Ghana, New Mexico, Spain, Tucson, Arizona, Tyrol in the Alps, United Arab Emirates, Italy, and Venezuela. And it's all the same. And notice they've all got these dots. All of them. These are a bit harder to see. But you can see there's a man there. We've got two bits on the side. And this one is scratched in as well. Can't see the dots on that one. Down here as well. This one looks like it's got a line through it. But there you go. Oh, this is a rude one. People in Tucson are rude. Okay. So this is the thing. Now these are other forms that basically the plasma, as it builds charge, it changes its shape. It's just like, like cymatics. As you raise the frequency, the shape that it forms changes. And this is the exact same thing, just different shapes. And it goes into now these are cave paintings, but it goes into shapes that look similar to these. Plasma in the lab and in rock art. The ancients were not just doodling when they spent millions of man-hours carving rock art forms around the world. They were reproducing dramatic plasma discharge forms seen in their spectacular sky. At high energy levels, the current with a plasma circuit will develop instabilities that can be studied in the laboratory. The flow of charged particles generates electromagnetic forces that in turn affect the flow of particles. This feedback effect produces plasma behavior that is not linear and is often unexpected. Theoretical predictions must be frequently checked against laboratory observations, and non-linear behavior at low energy such as alternative light and dark segments in gas discharge tubes becomes even more complex. Anthony Peratt, a researcher at Los Alamos National Laboratory, has studied the evolution of these instabilities for several decades. One evolutionary sequence in the development of the warped disk. A continuous discharge channel will break up into a string of spherical cells, usually to number in 9. And that's what this is. So you'll see that these are the discharge cells. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 7 there at the moment, and the torus at the bottom. And it says it goes up to 9. And that's that ladder that I was talking about. After that, these cells contract further into toroids, the donut-shaped rings stacked along the axial channel. The toroids flatten into disks, and the edges of the disks warp upward or downward. When viewed from the side perspective, the greatest thickness of the plasma along the axis and in the plane of the disks appears as a glowing lined figure, a vertical line with crossbars. So, yeah, if you can imagine, this is a 2D version. It's a 3D thing, but it's not solid. So these are the rings basically, and this is how it would look in the sky. This is what plasma looks like. So, and these are the drawings that we get. And who knows who put the dog there, or is that may be part of the discharge? I'm not sure, but that's the other thing with rock art. How do we know how much of it's genuine and how old it is? So in September of 2000, David Torborg, another presenter at the conference, remarked on the similarity of the line formed to images seen in ancient rock art. The pictograph on the left above from Cayena, Arizona, illustrates a large stage in this sequence, which is this again. And then it sort of just explains how this plasma changes. So this is being seen in the sky basically as it's building charge. What's happening is these images are appearing in the sky, but they're huge, like huge images in the sky. And as we saw before, these images are drawn all over the earth, so seen by everyone by the looks of it. So huge, and it changes. It evolves, like I said, with the frequency. As it steps up, the patterns change. And it says down here, in the transitional phase, the top discs fold over each other, often to form a bulb shape. The next disc bends into a cup shape. The middle discs often merge, and the lower discs bend down into the shape of an inverted cup. And that's the standing man that we see everywhere. The bottom of the axial current often develops a trident shape, and again we get back to the gods, and their weapons and their thunderbolts and their tridents. So, how much of this is allegorical? Obviously, with the Bible, it's very encoded, and it's basically, it can be read as an astrotheological book. And this is the same kind of thing. It's a little different to astrotheology. It's more, but it's definitely tied in. And so this is, this is basically, I mean, it's not my, it's not my theory, but it's what I've been looking into, and it seems to make a lot of sense to me. This is an image. Now, this is from Thunderbolts project, and I'm going to leave some links below to Thunderbolts. Worth having a look at. Now, they do come from the perspective that, we're on an orb spinning through a vacuum, but, that doesn't negate their research and what they've found. Basically, the way, what I've found and what I've looked at, it all completely relates to a flat plane. Now, they're talking about that there was a planetary change, that basically where the planets were and their orders changed. And I've mentioned this before with, the changing of the sun from Saturn to our sun now. And then obviously we've got this whole thing about the sun seems to be changing colour. And I've actually looked at a couple of videos of telescopes where they zoom in on the sun, and it doesn't look like what I would think the sun would look like. It definitely doesn't look however far it's supposed to be away, 66, no doubt. But anyway, this was the polar configuration. So this is basically where the pole star was, I'm guessing. That's what it seems like. And what it is Venus and Mars in front of Venus. And what's happening is, I guess the light's hitting the back of Mars, which, like coming off a planet, right, a wandering star, and it creates this, what I've got there, 8-pointed star. And in this, I'll just show you the configuration. They say basically it changed into this, and it's all got to do with Horus, lotus flowers, and all these, sort of gods and symbols that we see all over the place. Now, I can't remember the lineup. I'll have to have a look. But 3 planets, basically. And I think they said the sun was behind this. And so you get this star shape. Now that, I mentioned in one of my lives that the stars that we see don't look like the stars in the sky now. But that, looks more like a star, doesn't it? And of course, there's Velikovsky. What's that book called? Planets in Turmoil, I think. Planets in Turmoil. And he also talks about big changes in the sky. And of course, they come from the perspective of things crashing into each other and, this physical thing. But it could all just be energy, energy crashing in, magnetic waves. And this is one of, again, another depiction of what it may have looked like with the lineup of planets as they say that it was. So basically this, as you can see, looks like the horns that we see everywhere, right? The bull horns. And there is this, this narrative of, the parasites, sort of worship things from a past age. So is that what this maybe is? Because of course we get so many depictions like this. Things, people up in the sky, and of course, the way that the world works at the moment, the way that we're sort of, indoctrinated through school, and we're taught to think a certain way, that everything is really physical, and that when we look at things, that it's showing us something that was there, rather than maybe an allegory. Maybe it's telling us something else, not that there were people there and gods, but that this was the sun, and this was something to do with a change that happened in the sky. And they depict it as, people up there moving around, and they've got music involved. And of course this gets right into the, narratives like Thor and, the thunderbolts being thrown down at Earth. Now this is another picture of, these are all cave paintings, but this is how the plasma, it actually turns into this shape, and it forms a ladder as well. Pretty much like that, I guess, yeah. And so we see these depictions all over the place in caves. And of course we didn't know what they were until someone created plasma in a vacuum. And there we have the standing man again. And of course, looking at that, you can see that that could also, over time, be interpreted and changed into a face. So there's all these things, because what has happened is, we used to read the sky. We used to have astrologers, and they were the wise men, and the magi, and all these, and they were all about reading the sky and the sky clock and knowing about the ages and how different movements in the heavens affected us. And so all these stories about, the heavens and the wars in the heavens and all this kind of stuff, I don't think it's actually about people, humans, beings, whatever, up there having physical fights. I think these are stories that have come down telling us that there's been a lot of movement up there. And of course, since the 1500s, it's all looked at as, that these are big physical bodies of, with mass. But they're also supposed to be, how far away, millions and millions of miles, but they're supposed to have this big effect on the Earth. And all of history tells us this, that the sky is affecting the Earth. But we're not supposed to think that anymore. We've been taught not to think that. So these things really, when you think about it, and them affecting us, we are energy. We're in an electrical system. Tesla, whoever he may have been, said the Earth is a battery. Of course, we've got the poles, right? So this is a thing. This is an electrical system. So it makes sense that the planets and the stars and the things we see in the heavens are electrical, and that all these the gods are the planets. The gods are the planets. They just are. They're always described as the planets. And so all these stories that have come down to us as allegory, all these, myths and legends that we're told never existed, I believe they existed, but in a different form. Like I said, they're talking differently. Language was different back then. They were much more into stories and the creative side, which is really what it gets down to. The right side of the brain, the right-left paradigm. And we have this, right? We talk about it in politics and all these different things, right, left, right, left. Same as it's in our brain. We have two hemispheres. So that's the right-left paradigm. Is they're trying to make us use our left brain all the time and think in boxes when we should be using our right brain. Because that's also how we interpret the past better, because that's how they were living and seeing the world. So the gods, and these people throwing around thunderbolts and living up in clouds and having wars, when you understand that they viewed the planets as the gods, the wandering stars, then the wars that were happening was movement up in the heavens. And of course, with all these movements, if they're affecting us energetically, magnetically, as far as the Earth down here, that would cause big cataclysms. And of course, if we then had a discharge, a plasma discharge event like this, we could end up with buildings maybe that look like this. Because as they said, when the plasma builds up, it actually makes things bond together. So you can imagine if these things were hit with plasma, it's not so much melting, but they're like their actual chemical bonds have been changed through the intense heat, and they're just all bonded together. So we get this effect where they look melted, and they also look like they're joined into rocks and things. Of course, we don't know what's under this hill, but this is the thing. Looks like we've been hit, guys, by a big zap. It went zzz, and we've seen the mountain ranges. If superheated plasma hit the Earth and there was water under the ground, it would instantly expand that water, right? And water expands 1,600 times, I believe. Thank you, Callum. 1,600 times, basically when it turns into gas. So you can imagine that happening instantly. Would that form mountain ranges? Because as you can see, if it's hit and we get these, you can imagine what would, that could be a mountain range. Literally, that's what we see. And so with all this heat, would it make them rise up? And if that happened, and at the same time, fusing the molecules to form them into what we see as mountains. And then, of course, it may also just superheat a lot of the dirt that isn't changed on a molecular level, and that may flow down as a mud flood. So what do you think? There's a theory of the mud flood that I've been working on. And like I said, there's a lot of research done on this kind of stuff, especially by Thunderbolts project. I'll leave some links below. And you can see this guy, look at his made. Are these? He's just made his own little welding rods. Or they're not really welding. Well, you probably could weld with them. Basically, yeah, positive, negative charge, put them down. And the reason this works on wood is there's water, there's moisture in the wood. So that's what it's running along. Well, not running along, but that's, what it's using it as its medium, its current, just like they, use canals. Now I found this picture. This guy got struck by lightning. And look at his back. Look at that. So he's been hit. He's obviously lucky, I don't know how big the zap was, but you can imagine that's a lot smaller than what's hit the earth at some point. But yeah, look, he gets the same pattern, this Lichtenberg effect. So there you go, guys. Yeah, just I wanted to sort of get that out there. There's been a bit of talk about this, and so yeah, I wanted to put something together just so that you can sort of understand the whole concept of, what we're talking about when we talk about plasma and plasma events and discharges, and what may have happened and how it may have, been the cataclysm, been the catalyst for the flood, the mud flood. Because with these plasma events comes really turbulent weather, as you can imagine. If you superheat the air, it moves very quickly because hot air rises, right? And so doing that is going to create a lot of chaotic weather systems down here in the realm. And that seems to be what we see when we look out, on the physical plane. We see that there's been a lot of, catastrophe and destruction in the past, and we also see that they are trying very hard to cover it up. And of course, we see these plasma discharges all the time. We see that we're in an electrical system. But again, they don't teach us this, do they? They try and teach us something else. No, it's all, we're an enclosed system floating around in a void. But yeah, they never talk about in school. They never teach you that the Earth's a battery, and it's an electrical system, and that we are electrical systems. And there's a lot more on this too. I think I'm going to obviously do some more videos, but this gets into I'm looking at jewelry. All the jewelry we see everywhere. Including crowns. And to do with the body's electrical system, because the body needs to run at, or be at certain voltage, basically, or amps, to run properly and also to repair. And so if we're not getting, if we're not at the right energy, frequency, I guess, then we get sick, and we also don't live as long because we don't repair. So I think jewelry has something to do with that, and it probably encompasses piezoelectric things, so I'm going to get into that as well. And this whole electrical system, we see the poles everywhere, positive, negative poles, right? We know the things, polls, elections, the person in charge. So yeah, this is a much bigger story, obviously, as with everything. Seems to be that is tied to this kind of research. So hope you enjoyed that one, guys. Yeah, we live in a big electrical system, battery, and at some point it looks like it's built up charge and it has then discharged in a huge event. And of course, just as a side note, you're probably all thinking this, did all these domes, obviously copper, and all the spires and towers and all the infrastructure, was that also something to do with trying to balance out, you know, the electrical energy and trying to avoid big discharges? And then at some time, maybe someone's, you know, started to get in and take apart that system, and then as a result it went bang. Who knows? That may be one thing. Maybe it's not related. Maybe they were just getting energy. Don't know. Just thoughts. So let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. Obviously, guys, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and share these videos around. Share this information out, as you know, being shadow banned here, so I'm not being promoted by YouTube. So yeah, the only way I'm really getting out is by you guys sharing this information. So please do. And also, thank you so much, you know, to everyone who does support me through everything you do, through leaving comments, watching, sharing, all this kind of stuff. And obviously everyone who does support me through PayPal, my merch store, and Patreon. And if you would like to help this channel, there are links below, and obviously just below this video you'll see some of the shirts you can purchase. So I've got Autodidactic shirts. His story is not our story, and self-education is the way forward. And I am working on some new designs. So there you go, guys. Thanks for spending some time with me. Hope you enjoyed that one. Plasma discharge events. Has it happened? Will it happen again? We don't know. I don't think there's anything bad coming up soon, so yeah, definitely don't want to spread any fear. But it's very interesting as far as what may have happened, or it really looks like what did happen in our past. Alright, guys, thank you for spending some time with me. Stay awesome, because you are, and I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.